For many people, St. Patrick's Weekend is a lot of different things. For the people of West Cork and all motorsport fans, it means just one thing, the West Cork West Cork Rally. One of the regular competitors is Martin Grandin, the main feed dealer for Cork. Before the start, I asked him how he felt about this year's event.
Well, the chances of winning Group A overall, Michael, will be difficult enough. The fact if Bob Fowden gets a clean run and nothing major happens to him, I certainly will be there to hopefully to jump on his heels if anything does go down. But we certainly will. We are in for a good chance of winning the class, which is up to the 2000cc class in Group A.
Are you happy with the preparation of the Feet Apart for the weekend?
At long last, we have 80% of Group A parts for our car. We now have acquired a limited slip differential from Italy and also a close ratio gearbox. This together, plus our pretty good run in the Rally of the Lakes, I reckon we should have a very good chance of winning our class in West Cork.
AJ, at Kitty's Bakeries, you've been very busy at late. Has that affected your preparation for this rally?
Yes, Mike, I didn't really leave work last night till 7:30, so things were quite busy. Holiday weekends were very busy.
Going back to today's event, AJ, what are going to be your tactics? Flat out from the Borgo, I presume?
I'm debating that in my mind. It's nice to be going flat out, but I think I'll have to consider saving the car. You know, you don't win unless you finish, and you don't get places unless you finish. So I think we'll just see how it's going. Again, it depends on, you know, the kind of form I'm in. If I'm in good form, I'll drive hard. If I'm not, I'll just keep it on the road.
Richie, Saturday morning, 19 of the best stages in Ireland before you. How do you feel?
Feeling reasonably confident. Reasonably.
And what are your tactics going to be?
Well, I think from the word go, I'm going to have to go from the very first stage because there's an awful lot of quick men, I feel, behind me. Very good drivers, probably the best drivers in the British Isles, some of the best drivers in the British Isles, so I feel I have to keep going from the word go.
John Klein, you're driving the Autotune Nissan 240 race for the third time this weekend. Have you any problems at all at the moment?
No problems at all. We're looking for third time lucky. I was a bit bold the first time and the car was bold the second time, but let's hope we have both of those problems solved this weekend.
Seated at 1 was last year's winner Richie Healy in his immaculate Escort RS 1800. He was hoping for a second win in the Deep South. John Coyne had again hired the Autotune Nissan 240 RS for the event and was keeping his fingers crossed that it was going to be third time lucky for him in the car. After his brilliant performance on last year's event, leading overseas driver Bob Fowden was seated at 3 in the big 3.5 litre Rover. The Alba Hi-Fi Chevette of Frank O'Mahony started the event at number 4. For John Price, the drama started on Friday when he damaged the Renault's engine and had to burn the midnight oil and more than a little help from Pat Dillon to get the 5 Turbo ready for the start. The Vauxhall of James Doherty started at number 6. Kentuck Baker AJ Keating had attracted sponsorship from area co-directory publishers Southwest Promotions and was already settling down to his brilliant best. He was followed by the HSR of Joe McHale and the ex-Jimmy McRae Opel Ascona 400 of Theo Bingry. Also in the top 10 was the G3 Escort of Mike Pattison and Dave Taylor. Dennis Moody failed to make the start, so the number 11 spot went to Mal Stewart in the 1600 Avenger. Regular Janspeed Motoring News Rally Championship contender Martin Freestone in the Nissan 240 RS. While the Escort of Ken Lyons was already in the wars, and this dramatic spin did very little to regain his confidence. Stage 1, 11.3 miles, and already Healy's in the lead, setting the fastest stage time, 9 minutes 22 seconds. Coyne's time of 10 minutes put him in 9th position. Fowden joined 6th, 9 minutes 54 seconds. O'Mahony 4th, 9 minutes 45 seconds. Doherty 5th, 9 minutes 51 seconds. Keating 3rd, 9 minutes 42 seconds. Theo Bingry, 10 minutes 14 seconds. Man Stewart, 10 minutes, 13 seconds. Martin Freestone also had the same time as Stewart, 10 minutes, 13 seconds. Ken Lyons was forced to retire at the end of the first special stage. Two Cork crews who were expected to be well up there at the finish were Sam Hawkins in the Chevette and Ray Benskin in the Escort. Stage 2 at Glandore Village, and still Healy continues to pile on the pressure, extending his lead by another 10 seconds. Coyne was settling in nicely in the Nissan and was set to move up the leaderboard as the event progressed. Fowden had made the mistake of choosing intermediate tyres, which hampered his attack on the leaders. O'Mahony was slowed with transmission problems on the first stage, now had only choice of first and fifth gears on the second stage. Price was still trying to conserve his newly built engine. While Keating was putting up a top draw performance, he is now third overall. (1985) was Cork Motor Club's 9th West Cork Rally and the 5th successive year with Zanussi sponsorship. It was a counting round of both the Shell Oil's National Rally Championship and the Genspeed Motoring News Championship. The West Cork Rally has a reputation for providing a top-class event for ordinary club drivers. While Irish international rallies have suffered with the lack of entries, the West Cork Rally is usually oversubscribed, and 1985 was no exception, when 168 crews lined up at the start ramp. Saturday's leg of the rally consisted of 5 stages, each repeated twice, between Clonakilty and Skibbereen, giving a total of 116 stage miles and taking in such classics as Tragumna and Union Hall. Stage 5 at Castlefreak Wood, and the list of retirements was beginning to grow. The Redmond's escort of Billy Connolly was forced to retire on Stage 1 when the engine caught fire. James Doherty retired to Chevette with no brakes. Raymond and Trevor Knox retired the Sunbeam Lotus when the engine acquired an expensive sounding rattle, while Jerry O'Mahony from Roscarbery had to withdraw before the start when the escort's carburetors gave trouble. But after working hard on the car all day Saturday, he was ready to take part in the Sunday run. The major service on Saturday was in Clonakilty town, where the leading crews gave us their account of the proceedings.
Jay Keating, after 2 stages you were up to 3rd place. Has that scene changed very much over these last 3 stages?
No, I think we're still holding 3rd place, Mike. I didn't get the 5th stage times. That stage was quite fast and didn't suit us. It was too fast for our car. But I think we're still comfortably 3rd. I hope so anyway.
Mike Patterson, up to 2nd place at the moment. Are you surprised at that?
Yes, I am really. We started fairly steadily because last year we had a bad roll on stage 2. We didn't want to repeat the performance, so we went about the stages fairly easily. We had a second fastest on the first stage, which did surprise us, but it was a fast stage and suited the car. And then we settled down to, we've been second and third fastest most of the way through, I think. And I think at the moment we're about 8 seconds in front of AJ in his Mark III, and I think we're about 45 seconds behind Richie Healy.
Con Ward driving the Ward brothers Avenger. What can you tell us about the event so far?
Well, the car's flying. We've line second in the class at the moment, I think. But we got a puncture in the last stage, so we lost about 20 seconds in it. So there's a long way to go yet.
But you think you're still second in the class despite that puncture?
I'd say we are, yeah, because we had a good lead over the men in 3rd place. So.
And no other problems with the car whatsoever?
No other problems on it.
I hope it keeps going okay for you, Con. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Frank O'Mahony, lots of problems with the Chevette. Just what seems to be wrong?
Well, it's mainly a vibration from the drive shaft. We had a vibration in the morning, and we weren't sure whether it was coming from the gearbox or the drive shaft. So at the beginning, just when I take you off the line in the second stage, second gear, when I'm in the second gear went 3rd gear, and 4th was nearly gone. So I did the stage with just 2 gears, and we didn't have time to change it in the next one. So we had to do the 3rd one as well, the same way. And then we fitted the gearbox in Skibbereen. And we discovered that the vibration was still there. So we're now after changing the drive shaft, and we're just going to test it now. We're hoping that it's all going to be all right now. But we've a lot of time dropped, you know.
I hope it'll be okay for you, Frank. Thank you very much.
I hope so. Right.
Richie Healy started the event seed at number 1, and I think you've maintained that position throughout the morning.
Yes, at the moment after 5 stages, I have a 51 second lead.
And have you any problems at all with the car?
No, the car's going very well. It's absolutely no problems at all.
And what about the stages? Do you find them as fast as last year, perhaps maybe a little bit faster?
No, I think they're a little bit tighter of anything than last year. The last stage that we've just done, that's a very fast stage, and I was second quickest on that to John Kine, and only 2 seconds behind in front of Bob Felden. So I mean, that one was a bit quicker.
But are you holding something in reserve in case you might need it in that run?
Well, I've slackened off a bit in the last few stages. I have 50, as I said, I have 51 second lead, and I don't want to take any chances at this stage. I'll just see what happens behind me.
Okay, thanks, Richie.
Thank you.
Stage 6, and light rain began to fall, but this did not worry Healy, who was again fastest. Bob Fowden was at last getting to grips with the situation and about to make his charge up the leaderboard. John Price was finding gear selection a little bit of a problem and was lying just outside the top 10. AJ Keating was fighting for 2nd place. He was only 16 seconds adrift of Mike Patterson at this stage. Joe McHale was having no problems except that his rear springs were far too hard, while Patterson was coming under tremendous pressure from Keating and Fowden. While Healy relaxes a little, Fowden's Rover revels in the wet and is rapidly catching Keating for that 3rd place. Mike Patterson is still 2nd. O'Mahony had changed the prop shaft at service and was now setting some very fast stage times. While Mal Stewart was a little bit more than worried about the Avenger's engine. This lady was determined to keep as far away as possible from those noisy machines. As the leaderboard shows, the position after stage 6 was as follows. Richie Healy, Vincent Meade, 60 minutes. Mike Pattison, Dave Taylor, 60 minutes, 52 seconds. AJ Keating, Fergus Connolly, 61 minutes, 8 seconds. Bob Fowden, Howell Thomas, 61 minutes, 53 seconds. Ian Donaldson, David Chennels, 62 minutes. Donaldson had been driving very impressively, but sadly his rally ended on stage 7 with a broken stub axle. As Richie Healy blasts the escort through Ewing Hall village for the second time, he is closely followed by Bob Fowden, who sets the second fastest time on this stage. Keating was still giving it all he'd got and was thrilling the spectators with a spectacular style of driving. Frank O'Mahony was now having a trouble-free run and making up a lot of time. Theo Bingry and Paul Watkins were 11th. Mal Stewart had traced his engine's fault to a whole piston. The engine was now emitting clouds of telltale blue smoke, but he was determined to keep going and change the offending parts on Saturday night. Martin Daly was fighting for Class 6 honours, while Sean Delaney had a completely new engine fitted for the event. After their earlier problems, Con Ward and Maurice Nagel were now going okay in the Avenger, followed by Langley and Lee Humphreys. Ken Blatchley and Rich Wheeler were thoroughly enjoying themselves, even though their intercom had failed and the Capri's engine oil pressure was falling dangerously low. While Tossie Hayes in the Hayes Caravan sponsored escort is determined to have a closer look at our camera crew. As the crews headed for a well-earned overnight rest, Richie Healy's lead was now 58 seconds. Coyne, who was a little bit worried about the Nissan's rear axle, was still 6th overall. Bowden, who had really come to grips with the situation, was now up to 3rd, some 28 seconds ahead of Keating, who had dropped a lot of time due to a high-revving misfire. O'Mahony, despite all his problems, was 7th. The sensation of the rally was undoubtedly Mike Pattison in 2nd place and less than a minute off the pace. John Price had been nursing the Renault's engine all day, but he was now happy that everything was going okay. Theo Bingry was just inside the top 10, while Martin Freestone was expected to make his challenge over the Sunday stages.
Peter Boat, Opel are renowned for their participation in motorsport. Outside sponsoring people like Austin McHale, I think they cater very well for the clubman as well.
Yeah, it's a very important part of motorsport sponsorship. We can all get hung up on the big glamour names, but it's important for us as a manufacturer to be seen to be supporting the ordinary clubman as well. And that's why for the 3rd year now we have a special Opel Cup. We've had the same more or less running order this year as we had last year. 2 years ago it was a slightly different format. And we hope that this year will be just as exciting as last year when it went to the very last event.
Do you think that your participation in motorsport, in rally in particular, helps to sell a lot of Opel cars at the end of the year?
Well, it's very difficult to quantify it. I believe it is important. It's important for building that indefinable thing called image, which obviously then helps in the overall sales level. But we can't say that because we sponsor Austin McHale we sell so many motor cars. It's impossible to put a figure on it.
And what about next year perhaps? Will you be more involved in motorsport?
Next year we hope to continue our motorsport. It'll be difficult to see how we go next year. We have to wait and see what developments take place in the technical front and see what happens for the remainder of this year. But hopefully, yes, we'll be back in motorsport next year.
Keep up the good work, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Sunday, St. Patrick's Day. As the leaders began the first special stage ring, the heavens had opened, making driving conditions extremely difficult. Fowden's Rover revelled in the conditions. He was determined to have a go, even though a ring had been his bogey stage in the past. Another man in a big hurry was AJ Keating, whose engine misfires seemed to have disappeared, momentary at least. Lovell had changed the clutch and brakes on the Escort on Saturday night as a precautionary measure. He was still going as rapidly as ever. While Coyne's mechanics had changed the Nissan's axle, he was only 3 seconds adrift of Lovell, and just 5 seconds ahead of Frank O'Mahony, who had all his problems sorted out at last. Frank Maher was now up in 8th position in the ex-Mick O'Connell Escort. Bingry was having a trouble-free run in the immaculate-looking Opel. John Price was looking for a top 5 finish and precious Genspeed Motoring News Championship points, while Sam Hawkins had chosen a rather unusual way for celebrating his 14th wedding anniversary. Husband and wife team Langley and Lee Humphreys were involved in a titanic struggle for Class 7 honours. Sam Leeson and Andrew Boardman were having an excellent run in their RS 2000, as was Ian Greer from Bailey's Mills in the Ascona. The Fiat Ritmo Bart of Martin Grandin was ideally suited to the wet and slippery conditions. Healy decided that wet weather racers were the answer for the conditions that prevailed. His choice was wrong, and he dropped 14 seconds to Pattison on the 10-mile ring stage. The gap had now been cut to just 44 seconds. Stage 12 at Balnadee Village, and Healy drops another 3 seconds to Pattison. The Dublin garage proprietor's lead is now down to 41 seconds. Coyne sets fastest time, 6 minutes 6 seconds for the 10.1 stage miles. But where was AJ Keating? News was beginning to come true that the Keating Bakeries car had stopped just into the stage with a damaged engine. The misfire, which had hampered his progress on Saturday, seemed to have disappeared on the first stage ring. On starting the second Sunday stage, the engine became very rough, and wisely the Kanturk Baker switched off before any more damage was done. Once again, an aggressive drive had come to nothing, and the rally had lost one of its brightest stars. Joe McHale had now the right springs and was just inside the top 10. Competing can be very strenuous work, as can catering for these thirsty spectators. Stage 13 at Brinny. Healy strikes back like a man possessed, setting the fastest time, 12 minutes 40 seconds. But sensation now as the G3 escort of second place man Pattison grinds to a halt due to dirt in the fuel pump. It took over 10 minutes to coax the engine back to life. Mike concluded there was no point continuing. The Ears escort was saved for another day, and the battle for the lead was almost over. Fowden, after Pattison's misfortune, was up to second. Coyne, despite transmission problems, was third, 36 seconds behind Fowden. Frank O'Mahony, a fighting fourth. Maher was repeating his brilliant performance in Galway in fifth position. Bingry, seventh, but only 48 seconds separated the Ascona and the Nissan of Freestone in 11th place. Blatchley in the Capri had put some of his more distinguished opposition under pressure. He was fifth fastest on the Balnadee stage. Martin Grandin, who had set some very fast stage times earlier on, was slowed with a broken wishbone. while Pat and Oliver Kiley were heading for yet another consecutive Group 2 win.
Fowden, John Coyne has put a lot of pressure on you over these last few stages. Just how much pressure exactly is he exerting?
Well, he's going very, very quickly. The stages obviously suit the Datsun. They're very tight and twisty. There's a lot of mud in them. You know, it's definitely not a stage for a rover at all. He's got a tremendous advantage. As I said all along, we're just out to finish this event. I'm not letting anybody put any pressure on me. We're just going as quick as I want to go. I want to get some points in the championship and go home with a little bit of money this time, possibly.
Big problems yesterday, Frank. What's the story about Sunday?
We've our problem solved. The car is running smoothly now. We're trying to get back a bit of time. You know, we're getting a bit of time back here and there, and we would hope we're just, I think, 20 seconds behind John Coyne now, and the battle is obviously between John and Bob Fowden and myself at the moment. First is out of the question, Richie Healy is way ahead altogether. And I'd say we'll be doing our best now to bring back a bit of time on the next time through the stages.
John, Martin Grandin, you said some very fast stage times over the first few stages this morning, but you broke a wishbone in the last one. How much time has that cost you?
Yeah, we had good times this morning over the first two stages. It looks like that we could have maybe taken back our lead, our second place to the escort in front of us, 129. But we have since broke a wishbone, and the lads are attempting to repair it now. We're short some parts, but hopefully with the time that we have now, we'll be able to manage again, you know.
Do you reckon that you have a good chance of regaining the Group A lead?
Yeah, well, we'll go down trying anyway. Yeah.
And very, very slippery conditions. That has been another problem, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's very slippy, all right, but front-wheel drive seems to like the slippy conditions, so we don't mind too much the slippiness. It slows down the other fellas.
Nice talking to you, Martin. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
With the retirement of Pattison, the pressure is now off Healy. All he had to do now was just to coax the escort home. Fowden, in second place, was coming under tremendous pressure from an inspired John Coyne, and an on-fire Frank O'Mahony. Both wanted that second place. Maher was slowed down due to shock absorber problems. But John Price was heading for retirement when the Reynolds engine overheated. He won the Spirit of the Rally Award. Bingley was still comfortably inside the top 10. As was Joe McHale, even though the Vauxhall was totally undergeared and costing him a lot of time. Atkinson and Freestone were having their own little battle further down the field. John Kennedy was up to 12th overall in his new Chevette. Followed by the Chevette of Sam Hawkins and Sean Hanley. Martin Daly was just 1 second behind Richie Healy's time on the second Ballinadee stage. Langley Humphreys, who by the way was second overall in the 1984 Shellsport Championship. Hugh Toomey and Con Murphy were having a tremendous battle with Martin Daly for Class 7 honours. Also aiming for honours in that class was Sam Leeson in his escort. An innovation for the 1985 Zanussi West Cork Rally was the use of the Cork Hot Rod Stadium at Ballinhassig as a special spectator stage. This proved to be very enjoyable for the thousands of spectators who turned up to watch. The stage was not exactly popular with most drivers, who complained that there were stones flying in all directions and it was too short. 3 cars were allowed on the track at the one time, starting at 5-second intervals. Here we see the escort of Richie Healy, the Rover of Bob Fowden and the Nissan of John Coyne. Fowden is closing the gap on Healy, but the fastest man around the track was Sean Delaney from Glanmire with a time of 1 minute 5 seconds for the 1 mile stage. On Sunday, the list of retirements continued to grow. Joining the escorts of AJ Keating and Mike Pattison was the escort of John and Willie Minahan from Mill Street, who crashed heavily on stage 14, inflicting considerable damage to the car. Richard Stubber and Desi Wilson, who were making good progress in the Kin Colbert Nissan, were forced to drop out after stage 13 with a broken clutch. Interest was now focused on the battle for second. Fowden held the upper hand, but both Coyne and O'Mahony were not satisfied with their positions. Lovell in 5th place had overtaken Maher, who had no back shock absorbers and no spares. John Price was 9th at this stage but about to retire, while Martin Freestone made up the top 10. In the Dealer Opel Cup, P. Murphy had a 2-minute lead on George Leach, who in turn had a 6 minutes on Fergal Life, all driving Opel Cadets. This has been another Cork Video Services production, produced by Flor Griffin, directed by Maurice Brennan, commentary and interviews by Michael White. So, for our final look at the top 10 in the 1985 Zanussi West Cork Rally. Richard Atkinson finished 10th, beaten by just 1 second by Martin Freestone for 9th place. Sam Hawkins 8th in the Chevette. Despite many problems, Joe McHale finished 7th. Theo Bingry had a trouble-free run to claim 6th place, while 5th place went to Ralling's rising star Frank Maher. Mark Lovell gave the Escort RS Turbo an excellent Irish debut, finishing 4th. Coyne, after 2 encounters with the scenery over the last few stages, finished 3rd. But Bob Fowden was in for a big disappointment when the final results were posted.
Had a bit of a problem, well, more than a bit. We broke a half shaft about 2 miles from the end, 3 miles from the end, and we drove just on one wheel. And fortunately, the diff is, we've just put a new limited slip in, and it's very tight. It's set up to about 180 pounds, which is tremendously tight, and it was able to drive on one wheel. Although Frank did pass us on the stage, we just crawled to the finish and just hope for the best. And we got 3rd anyway. It's better than nothing. It could have been nothing.
But Bob's dreams of money and points came to naught when he was disqualified for illegal alterations to his roadbook.
I think after all the problems I had yesterday, to finish 2nd, you must be very, very pleased.
We are very pleased, yeah. We had such trouble yesterday. We thought we were well out of the running. It was only on the last maybe 3 or 4 stages we were keeping the pressure up. We felt the car was going better than it was going in the beginning. And, well, we had a good look at the times before the last 2 stages, and we felt that maybe we could do it. So we kept the well in, and as well as that, I'd say, in fairness, John Coyne had an off. And Bob was most unlucky to break his half shaft on the last stage. And the minute we caught him, he was very good. He pulled over straight away and left us out, which enabled us to gain that extra 10 seconds on him. So I think it was very it showed a great sportsmanship from Bob Fowden's point of view to leave us out when he did. So I must say we're delighted with the result after such a bad start.
Brian, how did you feel sitting near Frank all day, especially driving through that last stage and catching Bob Fowden?
Well, if he drove all the stages like he drove in the last stage, the result would have been different, I think.
Noel O'Halloran, you've been sponsoring Frank for a good number of years. This result here in West Cork must give you great satisfaction.
Yes, indeed. I think it's a great result. Considering the problems which we had yesterday, we certainly didn't think that 2nd place was on the cards. But as Brian said earlier, fantastic drive over the last 7 or 8 stages, and we're very, very pleased with 2nd place. Tremendous finish. Very happy.
Richie Healy, the champion in 1984, the champion in 1985.
I'm very happy, thank you.
And what about you, Vincent?
Oh, I'm delighted, naturally. He went very well. Like, we led the rally from start, and when he had to go fast, he went fast, and when he had to watch the car, he minded it, so the car is perfectly clean. We had no problems.
Well, then, of course, it's your last event in the car. Probably in the circuit you'll be driving the Escort Turbo. As Mark Lovell's performance here this weekend give you a great heart for the circuit.
Yes, I was very impressed with Mark Lovell's performance. I think he surprised an awful lot of people.
And what are your plans besides the circuit for the rest of 85?
Well, depends now. This car is for sale at the moment. If it's sold, I'll probably stay with the Group A. If not, I might just drive both for the year.
Nice talking to you, Richie, and again, many congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeez, the top won't come off. Whoa!